So today in this video I'm going to be talking about understanding your light source and how to know where shadows fall and what direction your light is coming from. So I had some people ask me to make this video. I also want to note that some people have asked for a video on how to paint over your liner. I am planning on making that. I just have to get around to it and find a good image that I can show you that on. So anyways, let's start with this one. So I have my layers here, and I'm going to make sure I have a new layer selected on my multiply layer so I can do my shadow art. And this isn't going to be so much on the techniques that I'm teaching you guys as it is on just, not so much as the Procreate techniques as it is just general painting and understanding lighting techniques. So when you're understanding your lighting and you're drawing something, you need to think about it in 3 dimensions. So even though you're drawing something in 2D, the way light is going to be interacting in your painting, if you want it to be believable, you need to imagine as if it was 3D, okay? So I'm going to go through a couple different examples of possible lighting directions so you can see what this might look like. So let's say we'll just go with one that's really simple to start off. And let's say the light is coming from this direction, okay? Like that. So it's coming from this direction, kind of upwards and behind him, right? If the light's coming from that direction, then we need to think what parts are going to be in light and what parts are going to be in shadow. So I usually start with my shadows first, and assuming the light's coming from this direction, beneath his jaw is probably, you know what, here, I'm going to select the shape so I don't have to worry about painting outside the line. So if we are assuming that the light is coming from back there, then all of this underneath his jaw will be in shadow. Okay, that will all be in shadow. There's going to be this edge of his jaw will be in shadow because light's not going to be able to hit it from over there. Underneath these folds of his skin will have a slight shadow beneath them depending on how hard our light is. And I'm not really going to worry about his clothes down here. I'm just going to focus on the head for this example so you can see what I'm talking about. Maybe a little bit up here. His underneath his eye right here will be in shadow. Underneath like the fold in this fin on the back of his head, maybe his ear hole. Then also his eye. There'll be a shadow going over his eye from this little ledge right here. And then since his eye is a circle shape, underneath his eyelid would be in shadow. And then a little bit under the sphere of his eye. Alright, so we have that. Now we need to think about what direction will the lights be hitting him from, right? So I have another layer up here, and I've set the opacity down to about 38%, and I'm going to select a pretty bright color. And this layer is where we're going to start thinking about the highlights, right? So if the light is coming from back here, pretty much the whole top flat plane of his head is going to be in this light, okay? Color that in. Okay, this rounded shape I'm imagining is 3D, 3-dimensional shape, and it has a little bit of form to it. So I imagine this rounds off to the rest of his head and would be getting hit with light up there. Underneath this ear would catch some light. Maybe his lip. His lip has a little bit of an edge on it, we'll say. Catches some light on this ledge. Underneath his nose would be a little bit of a flat plane. Do a little bit of highlights on these flaps of skin on his eyelid. Probably do that on a separate layer. And yeah, I'd say that's about good. So that's one example of a light source, okay? If it's hitting him from that direction. Now you know what? I'll do one layer with a highlight on it. So there's one example, okay? Now, let's try another one. Let's say that the light this time is coming from down here, okay? Light is coming from down below, right? Which means instead of the bottom of his jaw being in shadow, it would be the top of his head. So I'm going to go ahead and select this, make sure I don't paint outside the lines. And then all of this is going to be in shadow. Everything on top this time. Almost the opposite. Everything that was now getting hit by light is now being cast into shadow. Okay? Probably up here above his eye. Let's see, what else? Maybe there's a little bit of a ledge here. Alright, that looks pretty good. So now let's do the light source. So if the light is coming from down below, then it's going to be lighting the bottom of his jaw. We'll be getting hit by this light. All of this beneath will be hit by light. These folds of skin will now be reversed and catch the light instead of casting shadows. Okay. See, his lip would probably catch a little ledge of light. The top of his ear hole, bottom ledge of that, bottom of his eye. This would all catch a lot of light. Up in here. Alright, like so. And then the highlight also, if we move to this highlight layer, highlight would also move down closer to where the light is coming from. So down here. Okay? And then let's do one more example. Let's say the light is going to be coming from, how about almost directly behind him? Okay? So something like this. So if the light is hitting him at that angle, then everything in front is going to be cast into shadow, okay? The front curve of his eye, behind it will be in shadow. This would probably, if it's coming from below, a little bit below this angle of his top of his head, that will be in shadow. And you really just got to start thinking three-dimensionally, right? Imagine if this was a 3D model and the light was coming, what part would the light not hit, right? Just really play it out in your mind. And a pretty good way to tell as well is imagine that, especially when it comes to cast shadows, if you have your light source, okay, say it's right here, and it is hitting, let's say it's hitting this collar, right? You can draw a line from this to the collar, right? And depending on where your light source is, anything that's going to fall in that line, right, is going to have a shadow cast on it. So if we're imagining that it's hitting this collar, then that collar is going to end up casting a shadow that you'll be able to see. So we'll finish this guy up. The front would be in shadow. That would catch maybe a little bit in there. This would probably have some shadow down there. That would be in shadow. This collar in here where the clothes are. And then all this would be in shadow. Alright, that's good. Now we'll do the light. And the light is going to be coming from back here, so it's going to be hitting that edge really hard. Going to be hitting all this stuff out here. We're not really going to go crazy into the clothes, but that would be getting lit. The back of his head right here. Say there's like a little bit of a plane right here that would catch some light. And then, once again, the highlight would move. So, and there's a bunch of other things that are going to go into lighting. How intense your light is will depend on how dark your shadows are, whether your light is a spotlight or if it's diffused. And that's something that I would have to go into a completely other video. But This is just to help you understand when you're painting something or drawing something and you're trying to do the shadows, to help you visualize and really think about what direction is my light coming from. Setting a direction, you can draw arrows like I did and then erase them later if you need to, but just having a mental note of knowing that my light source is coming from one direction, and that's how all of my shadows are going to relate to, based off of that one light source. Now, if you want to get complex, you can start adding multiple light sources and stuff like that. You just have to make sure you remain consistent. So hopefully that was helpful for you guys. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, be sure to subscribe and leave a comment in the comments letting me know what kind of tutorials you want to see. So appreciate it, guys, and I hope you have a great night.